It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 359. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashkar.
Rar.
Kodra.
Howdy.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hi.
So I have no idea what this topic is, but Kodra, I think you put it on the list. Farewell to farewell.
I get to say farewell to farewell, the 9th and final chapter of Celeste. This Monday, I managed to beat it. The final screen, which took me just a little over an hour, which I think rates as probably the third hardest screen in that game from amount of time I took on it. It's very interesting. Farewell is a chapter full of teaching you complicated new tricks, and then the final screen is mostly a bunch of easy stuff, but it's just really long. Like I have a clip of me beating it, and it's 3 minutes, which is kind of absurd for that game. Because every single time you fail, you got to do another 3 minutes of close to flawless execution of, frankly, not that difficult tricks. But still, I'm done. I beat it. I would have actually completed my goal if my daughter hadn't been born a week early. My goal was to beat it before she was born. And now I only have 2 achievements left in this whole game. One is really easy to get, and one is really not. So I still need to beat the Pico 8 version of the game, which is basically like their game jam version of Celeste, which I can probably knock that out in about a half hour. And then I have to get the Moonberry. The Moonberry asks, what if you took that final room that was so long and you opted to keep doing it? But I think I might try those. But I'm officially on the hunt for new games to play and new Celeste mods to go after, I think. And I'm feeling pretty damn accomplished right now.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
Impressive.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you want a game,
Clearly your next goal should be S++ and Dust Force.
I don't think I've given much of a look to Dust Force. And I don't know what that means. Maybe I will check it out, but I'm nervous. Because I will say there is content I have intentionally decided I don't want, like the golden berries. I don't want to get golden berries in this game, because that's just asking me to beat an entire level without dying once. And that's a little bit too much punishment.
To get double S ranks in Dust Force is quite frankly ridiculous, because you have to complete them perfectly without dying quickly.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, no.
On the other hand, Dust Force levels are shorter than Celeste levels.
Okay.
And how much time have you spent with Shovel Knight?
I beat Shovel Knight as Shovel Knight and almost as Plague Knight, but
Just also seems like a game down your alley. I don't know why.
It's a pretty good game down my alley. I think so I really did like not Plague Knight, Reaper Knight, right. I liked that one because the jumping in it was fun. But I think I liked Messenger a lot. Honestly, I could keep grinding out Godhome in Hollow Knight. That's not a terrible idea for me. I could try and learn how to do an any percent of letter V 6 times, because that's reasonable for me to do now that it has controller support. I'm really tempted to download a bunch of Celeste map packs, though, because I hear there are some pretty well-developed ones.
I mean, I would say Circle of the Moon, but I know you don't like Castlevania jumps, so...
Circle of the Moon doesn't have classic Castlevania jumps.
Yeah.
Oh, does it have in-air movement?
Yes.
I've only played a little bit. I don't remember much of it.
Circle of the Moon was the first GBA game Which one are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of the Bloodstained thing that came out that was their 8-bit game.
Oh, I think that does have classic Castlevania jumps.
That probably does, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like air control. It's funny. After the comment, I went and played a little bit of Faxanadu, and that does have like the old, like movement feels old and clunky. I then went and played Legacy of the Wizard, which does give some air control, which was surprising to me. But yeah, I also recommend Celeste to anyone who wants to work at a game for a long time and appreciate yourself getting better at it, because it'll definitely let you do that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was going to transition to the next topic, but if you still got more to say about this.
I was just going to say, when I first saw a screenshot of somebody playing Farewell, I was like, oh, this looks impossible. This is something I will never, ever be able to do. But I was motivated to try it at least and see what happened. And as I started doing some of the like content in between the A-sides and Farewell, I started getting to the point where that content seemed a little bit more reasonable. So I like that this game does a good job of progression.
So we have a sort of conclusion to the Epic versus Apple trial thing. I mean, I feel like this is kind of the split the baby in half.
They both lose, and they both win. And
it's legitimately the funniest possible outcome.
It really is. I'm impressed.
It is certainly not an outcome I expected. So the actual outcome is Epic is found in breach of contract and has to pay Apple back for all of their stuff, basically. So that's a few $1,000,000 there. Apple is not found to be a monopoly, but they are found to be engaging in anti-competitive practices. So they are not allowed to restrict developers from directing towards other payment services. So it's kind of like poking a hole in the walled garden.
So you still can't have your own store within your game, but you can point to something off on the internet and say, give us money there.
Yeah,
and you can have that internet service apply credits to your current game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or like pay for your Netflix subscription.
Yeah.
And Apple doesn't get to take a cut of that. Nice.
This is like, speaking as somebody who has worked on this specific thing, like not the Epic Apple thing, but just like in this space, this is huge. Like it's really funny because it's incredibly good for everybody who isn't Epic or Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's actually still kind of good for Epic.
Yeah, they would really like to not pay $2.5 million.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, in the how much are they going to make long term?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. Another thing that some interesting things came out of this, as you know, a bunch of stuff happens during lawsuits. People get to find out things.
Discovery.
Epic doesn't make a lot of money on the iOS version of Fortnite. Very, very little money on the iOS version of Fortnite. Less than 3% of their total earnings.
Yeah.
Also, we got to find out as a result of this fun discovery process that Fortnite is in fact funding the Epic Store.
Yep. The thing we all assumed was true is in fact true.
So do you think like basically they threw this grenade because they were making so little off of Apple that they could afford to lose it entirely?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, it sounded like they were really, really hoping that they were going to win this case. So their next goal would be to get the Epic Store onto like Apple devices.
Yeah.
But no, that's why they seem to be very upset about this, because they kind of won, but they really didn't win.
Apple seems pretty happy about it. Yeah, Apple seems pretty happy about it, but apparently, like, they have already been losing this battle elsewhere.
Correct.
Like
I think it was Japan already came down on them for this. So like they knew this was coming.
Yeah, it sounds like for Apple, this was this was the best we could reasonably hope for. So we'll take it.
I mean, like, isn't this basically going to just mean that they lose all in-app purchases?
No.
No.
Not even close, because most people aren't going to bother to set up their own stores. Their own external sources of purchasing.
Yeah, all that separate infrastructure to do it. Like
it benefits those who have already done it, though. Amazon, I'm sure, is more than happy to take your money elsewhere. Netflix, as I mentioned earlier, was the subject, I think, of the Japan ruling. There's going to be a few big winners. It's just not Epic.
I mean, some apps that currently just don't have a way to pay within the app, and you kind of have to go hunt for it, can now just tell you in the app, hey, go pay us over here.
I mean, it almost makes me wonder if this is going to create a market of someone who builds a turnkey storefront for in-app purchases that takes a significantly smaller cut than Apple.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of hard not to be taking a smaller cut than Apple.
Yes, but you do still need to take enough of a cut so that you're actually making money, probably.
The problem is, it would almost have to be someone that is already a payment card processor, because that's always the challenge, is the rates of the payment card processing.
Yeah, watch Venmo or somebody try to move into this space.
I can absolutely see PayPal doing it.
Yeah.
Here, put this API in your app, and you can process all your payments through PayPal.
Does PayPal still randomly freeze people's money for no apparent reason?
Oh, absolutely. That's
just checking.
That's a feature.
Also, PayPal recently raised all of their rates too. So fun stuff there.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened this week is we got what would basically have been the E3 show for Sony.
It was a really good 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
mostly.
There was the same usual Sony doing nonsense Sony stuff. Like, I'm sure that intro will become a commercial that was kind of nonsense, but whatever. But it was a lot of good stuff that was shown off. And we got confirmation that Knights of the Old Republic is getting a remake, but it's weird that it's on Sony and PC and not just all the platforms.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Do we know what the nature of the remake is at this point?
I mean, it's by Asper Media, which mostly does ports, but I don't know. I have no idea how much of a remake it is.
That is a game that could use a system revamp.
It could.
Yes, it could.
It could use a movement revamp. It could use an everything revamp.
Bare minimum, do the stuff like Baldur's Gate got, and at least update it to the sequels slightly better systems.
Yeah, but the problem is the sequel to KOTOR is even buggier. So
no. I mean, in terms of game mechanics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I really want is for them to spend some time fixing the problems of KOTOR 2. I want this to do well so that game can get remade and be less nonsense.
And maybe officially have all the stuff put back in instead of needing a mod.
Right. And the mod is they can only go so far because that stuff wasn't finished.
I just want I want these remakes to be successful, partly because KOTOR is great and a new version would feel really great, but also because every one of these is successful gets me that much closer to having a Xenogears remake.
The thing is, I loved replaying Mass Effect recently. It was great. I'm super on board with replaying Knights of the Old Republic.
But yeah, I would say systems revamp makes sense because please either make it a action game or an RPG game. But it feels like it was trying to be an action game, but the ultimate real time with pause. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was the style then.
But I would like it to be more Mass Effect, please.
Grace is not here to defend real time with pause.
Yeah,
but would like to let you know that real time with pause does have defenders.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and the reality is I never minded it, but I always played it as an action game. I never paused the game. I let the finger wigglers do whatever the finger wigglers wanted to do, and I just bashed things with a sword or a shield. I explicitly remember using tank mechanics before I was actually an MMO tank because like I would park my party around the corner and then go body pull stuff with my actual character that I cared about, and then bring him back to the party.
Let's be totally clear. The correct answer in KOTOR is to go Guardian.
Oh yes,
It is absolutely the correct answer.
But that's like, this is true because you can like pre-buff yourself and then you don't have to think about combat. So if you want to play somebody who thinks about combat, that kind of doesn't work in KOTOR.
Maybe they will make, the other two kinds of Jedis worthwhile.
Yeah.
Dual Wield Guardian was the way to go.
Wasn't it based on Saga?
Maybe?
Theoretically?
Not directly. It's just also based on 3.5.
I was going to say, if it was based on Saga, then clearly Force Choke should be way more powerful.
No, it's not. It was not based on Saga. I think it might predate Saga, but it was not based on Saga. And
it was D20 Star Wars, like very loosely.
Yeah,
it significantly predated Saga.
I played a game in D20 Star Wars. I was a Jawa Jedi Sentinel. I remember this now. Next to college role-playing days.
Oh, yeah. I also played D20 Star Wars. It's probably...
KOTOR predated Saga by almost half a decade.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. The remake should go back to the beginnings and base it on D6 Star Wars.
Why? Why do you say these things?
Because West End's D6 Star Wars was amazing.
It is
Lee broken.
Cool. Not gonna lie.
No, it was a fantastic game. It also was easily breakable in certain ways. But I played so much of that in high school, and it's also who you can thank for so much of the stuff that has shown up in actual canon Star Wars since then. There's so much of that made its first appearance in those West End source books.
Somewhere around here, I have West End's attempt to create GURPS.
Wait, what?
They created a generic D6 system.
Yeah, basically like how the Genesis system is the generic version of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars. West End decided to do that with their D6 system. So you could use it for things that aren't licensed properties. What they should have done is they should have made their own version of Rifts, and then you could take your characters from Star Wars and from Indiana Jones and from Men in Black and have them all show up in the same game together.
They absolutely should have. I like jumbled universes. I had never heard of Project Eve before that show. And other than the trailer just being a lot of slow motion butt shots, it looked interesting. Like a combination of Devil May Cry and Bayonetta and Nier.
I mean, it looked like Korean Dark Souls.
Yeah. That's my fear, though. Like, I want it to lean more into the Devil May Cry Bayonetta thing than Dark Souls, but we will have to see, I guess.
I mean, if I have to play a Dark Souls game, one that's less, depressing, dark, grungy castles and everything might be nice. But probably I just won't play a Dark Souls game.
I mean, have you played Jedi Fallen Order?
I haven't. I should.
I mean,
Good.
That's Jedi Fallen Order. I maintain is the best Souls-like to be released.
Agree.
You might also be interested in Sekiro, which is only how Soulsian that is.
Look, if you're trying to get away from depressing, sad castles, making the castles all Japanese doesn't actually make it less sad.
No.
I mean, at least they're not European castles, but yeah, it's still probably pretty sad.
For the longest time, I wanted a new Onimusha game, but I was afraid that it would become a Souls-like.
I was going to say...
Oh, it almost certainly would.
Absolutely. Like, if it were created today, it would be a Souls-like.
In Sekiro, the castles are all on wood and subsequently on fire.
I mean, yes.
As were they in Onimusha.
I mean, historically accurate.
I'm still into Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I feel like Baby Metal was the perfect soundtrack for that trailer.
I'm so skeptical of Borderlands at the moment.
I'm gonna play it. I know I will. I just don't know like how it's gonna feel. Also, like Tiny Tina is a lot and great in small doses, but
I mean, I can't help but wonder if they do this right, maybe this could fill the Diablo 3 hole.
Well,
maybe.
Has anyone played Borderlands 3?
I have played it. I did not get super far. I did not like it that much.
I'm very dubious is where I would start there.
Yeah. That's what worries me is Borderlands 3 felt like a caricature of Borderlands. Like it's
I mean, this is intentionally that.
Yeah.
Well, but wait a second, because so Borderlands 2 was at its best when it had a goofy premise telling a heartfelt story. Mm-hmm. And the original Tiny Tina's DLC was the most goofy premise telling the most heartfelt story. And that's why it worked.
And Borderlands 3 has this whole, look, we're wacky and zany and explosions thing going on. And it just, it doesn't have the heart anymore.
Right. Yeah, like the whole thing is like people like you have people who thrive in this and they're like the wacky goofy people, and then you have people who are just like hanging on, and that's usually the crew. Like it's usually the Vault Hunters.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the previous Borderlands games used the super manic people as a mirror to how messed up the world is. Because the bright colors and like offbeat humor make it really easy to forget how messed up the world is. So turning that up to 11 it kind of forces you back to be like, oh wow, this is really messed up. But like if you aren't using it as a foil and you're making it just mania all the time.
Well, you know how Borderlands, the pre-sequel, kind of had that whole designer imposters feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It like Borderlands 3 kind of had that same thing going on for me. Like it felt like this is a sequel by people who didn't remember what made Borderlands 1 and 2 good.
Well, and I looking back, Borderlands 1 was a phenomenal success from a like systems design. It was very novel. Its story was serviceable, but not much. Borderlands 2's story was incredible. Mm-hmm. And like Handsome Jack is one of the better antagonists ever, because I think everyone knows a Handsome Jack. Somebody who is like thinks they are so funny and like does cruel shit because they think it is hilarious and like does not consider other people's feelings. And like you get to see that like a sort of villain that is very relatable and very well known, and sort of the awful things that person does, and it's very well considered, and then has actual like moments of real heart-rending like sadness and
I've often wondered if Handsome Jack was basically just the crew making fun of Randy Pitchford.
I mean,
no comment.
What? Video game developers basing a villain off of an actual real life person?
I'm just saying.
Inconceivable.
It fits. But yeah, like whatever made Borderlands 2 magic just hasn't existed from that point on. But like from what I've heard, I've not played it, but I've heard Tales of the Borderlands is great. The Telltale game.
Telltale, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like
it's on my very long list of games to play. But yeah, everything I've heard about it has been really, really good.
The game that impressed me the most, though, has to be Forspoken, because like when we last saw it, it mostly just looked like a tech demo, but now it appears to be a fully fleshed game, and also coming out early 2022.
That game has the dumbest name, but looks so cool.
It's a horrible name. Like it was better when it was called Project whatever.
Project Athia.
Athia?
Yeah, no, like, legitimately, that game looks as cool as its name is dumb.
Yeah. Like, the only thing about that game is somebody better be taking care of Homer the cat, I'm just saying, you can't show me a cute cat and then make it seem like the hero abandoned the cat.
I'm sure the cat will be fine.
That cat is the ultimate villain at the end of the game.
Oh, it's small and it's cute and it's friendly.
I've seen Madoka Magica.
Alan Wake's getting remastered.
Okay.
I mean, that's fine. I really didn't enjoy shining flashlights on things, so I probably won't be playing it.
Alan, I want to come to Alan Wake's defense. Alan Wake was great. Like that game.
Say so.
That game was. What if you took the deliberate mechanics of a horror game and pulled out the horror and made it an action mystery? It was awesome.
Okay.
I will let you stand for that, but I did not get very far because I think maybe I played it too late because it felt super kludgy and
that could be.
Maybe
the remaster is exactly what you need.
Yeah, maybe a remaster would feel better. Like the world was interesting, but did not love shining the flashlight on things. Ghostwire Tokyo looks wild, but
looks fascinating.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't think it's a thing that I would ever buy immediately, but like if it goes on sale, I will probably pick it up and see what it's like. It depends on like how they handle the spellcasting. If it is like Hex and Heretic style spellcasting where you're just pushing a button, then maybe.
I have no idea how to process that game. It looks deeply disturbing.
It does.
I'm super on board with a Wolverine game by Insomniac.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Like Wolverine is a deeply nuanced character that always gets played as a one-note character.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of Wolverine stories written over the past 40 years. And
I find it kind of hard to get into Wolverine just because of how much of a Mary Sue that character is. But
Wolverine just wants to be left alone, but people keep screwing with him.
Yeah. He wants to sit in a bar and have a drink. But then it turns out the bar is like, full of vampires who want his blood, or, who knows?
He just wants to be left alone
and have dates with Gene and Scott.
With adjoining bedrooms.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm also real curious to see what all supporting characters will be involved in this. I am very much holding out hope that they will do a Spider-Man and have Laura Kinney.
I
as
think
a
they're going to cross
big
them
important
over.
character.
I do. I think they're going to cross the universes over.
Because we have two Spider-Mans over in Spider-Man now. We need two or more Wolverines. Get Laura and Gabby. Give us Honey Badger.
I was going to say, given what movies have been out with Logan in them recently, wouldn't it make sense to get X-23 in here?
That's Laura.
Okay.
Yeah. She is that's Laura Kinney. She is now Wolverine. Logan is also Wolverine. They're both Wolverine. It's fine. And yes, she's fantastic. And yes. And then there's Gabby, who is a clone of her.
Oh my god.
And Gabby goes by Honey Badger, and Gabby is amazing. She is a 12-year-old with Wolverine powers. She has a pet Wolverine named Jonathan. We would die for Jonathan.
I'm just here for Marvel properties being made into games by studios who are good at what they do.
Yeah, by people who get what makes these characters interesting and how to make a good game out of them.
Like Insomniac has a really, really good pedigree. Like Firaxis, yeah, okay. I'll play Marvel XCOM made by Firaxis.
I just based on the treatment that was given to Spider-Man by Insomniac, I'm so looking forward to seeing what villains they weave in, what side characters they weave in. Maybe bring in Gambit and not make him awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man games by Insomniac were incredible. Ratchet and Clank was great. Like, they're just hitting it out of the park over and over again. I'm excited about this new Spider-Man game.
Oh yeah,
Dude, okay, Thalen, that has to be Craven, right?
oh that's absolutely Craven.
Like, there's no way it's not Craven. I'm so looking forward to that.
Dude with Russian-sounding accent talking about how he's been looking for a challenge, and maybe Spider-Man will be the one to give it to him. Yes, it's Craven the Hunter. There is no other option.
Yeah, like, I'm so on board. Craven is my favorite Spider-Man villain.
I mean, also Venom is going to be in it, and I think that's more important to me.
I mean, fine, what, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't consider Venom a Spider-Man villain.
I mean, Venom is his own thing. Venom's been an antagonist for, like, at this point, like 98% of his character history. Yes. I'm curious what they're going to be doing with him. Hopefully they avoid anything Carnage related, because
I mean, no, that tends to go off the rails fast.
Yes.
Isn't that what Venom 2 is doing?
It is.
Yes. It is.
Carnage.
If that movie is good, it will be despite that, not because of it.
Yes. Yeah. Carnage was the most 90s of 90s villains, and he should stay in the 90s.
To be fair, though, his Crisis Protocol mini is amazing.
I could see that.
Which one?
Carnage.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. It's incredibly good.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what new, like, supporting characters will show up. I'm curious if we'll see any more of Harry after him being, like, the, you know, remote recorded presence in the first game. But yeah, I need to get a PlayStation 5 before that comes out.
Yes. They need to, like, get them in stock.
That would be nice.
Also, the rumor of a PlayStation 5 Pro that's an 8K system.
Why this?
Why?
I don't know. Just like
bragging rights.
Worry about creating enough of, like, this is the same problem I have with Nvidia, like creating 980 Ti's when they can't even keep 980s in stock.
I mean, the 980 Ti makes perfect sense. They could get in on the price gouging, but without having to do any more additional work.
Yep.
The thing is like PlayStation 5 restocks are happening pretty frequently, but the mania is still there, and it's still impossible to get one.
I mean, I don't know to what degree they're still all being bought up by scalpers, but I imagine it's at least some of them. They're the people who aren't spending their ill-gotten gains on NFTs are buying all the PlayStation 5s. That's what happened.
There was a post that I saw from some chain in Australia where, like, an entire wave got bought by scalpers, and they were bragging about it and posing next to their mountain of boxes. So apparently that's still a thing.
Yeah.
God of War Ragnarok looks good.
Yeah.
The internet is losing their shit over Thor.
Of course they are. I mean, that's. I mean, I saw that and I was like, yeah, that looks like Thor.
I'm so on board with Ryan Hurst as Thor because, like, to be honest, Ryan Hurst was the only part that made Walking Dead's Whisper War watchable.
I mean, honestly, I saw him and my first thought was, oh, it's kind of reminds me a little of Neil Gaiman's take on Thor in Sandman.
Yep.
If he rubs his hammer, it gets bigger.
Okay, like, Thor was not a nice guy.
No,
he's awful.
None of them
he's universally really awful.
Well, is he a antagonist in this game? I mean,
presumably.
Who knows?
I mean, this is the God of War trilogy or series. Like,
I mean, like in the previous God of War Norse one, the Norse gods were antagonists. So yeah,
probably.
I mean,
classic
not
Thor.
All
actually,
of them.
Yeah, out of the Thor Norse mythology is not typically given to thinking about things and not hitting people with his hammer.
Yeah,
Tyr's the good one.
But yeah, they were primarily antagonists in the previous game, so I expect that to mostly continue, if not entirely continue.
I really want this to continue after this. Like, once they wrap up whatever they're doing with Ragnarok and Norse mythology.
Gonna say they look like they're gonna wrap this one up in 2 games and not 3.
Right. But, like, I really want to see them continue this dive into other mythologies. Like, I would really love to see a God of War game with Persian or Babylonian mythology.
Yeah, like Sumerian would be real easy.
Yep. It would be great. Like if the series
Have
continues.
Kratos run into Gilgamesh.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That would be freaking great. Like, was there anything else in the show? I mean, obviously there's Gran Turismo, but like, I'm not the market for Gran Turismo games. I've never wanted to have sex with a car.
Wow.
There's a lot of loving detail in Gran Turismo games.
There is.
It's true.
There wasn't anything about Stray, was there?
No, there was not.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
There's something about Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
Rainbow Six Zombies.
Yet
Hooray.
another copy of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh,
Yes.
boy.
They're going to try and like compete with Skyrim.
Apparently.
Probably. I mean,
Either one of those games can get past either one of those series can get past their 5th injury.
It's true.
Blood Hunt looks really cool until I remember it's a battle royale.
Yeah, I was so excited. Then I looked it up and it was like, oh, it's a battle royale. All right, I'm out.
Exactly. Like, yeah, no. Oh, I'll pass.
They did show a bit of the Guardians game, so we'll see if that's better than the Avengers game.
I feel like I'm going to
Not-
shuffle the deck right now because this is going to lead into that one. But like, Avengers makes me not think that's going to be a good game.
Oh,
I'll be surprised.
Like, yes, it's a
Yeah.
different developer, but it's also stewarded by Square, and I don't. Here's the problem with Avengers: is that game could be salvaged, but I don't think anybody that's working on it understands why it's not fun. Like, it has a really good story, but man, combat is not a strong suit of that game.
Yeah, it's you know what it reminds me of? You know those they eventually got better, but you know the Lord of the Rings movie games that were like these big brawlery sorts of games, and every character you could play you would like press a button and it had you were just animation locked, like hard animation locked.
Yep.
And like with weird sort of unresponsive controls and awkward feeling movement and platforming. And like that's what this feels like. That's what Avengers felt like to me. Like the things that people went on about, like, oh, incredible uncanny valley with all of the characters, like whatever, I can ignore that.
Like,
Yeah,
pretty
after
fast.
after the first 30 minutes, like, I didn't even notice that that they were, dollar store versions of the MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that evaporated pretty quick. But the thing that got me was, oh, this should be fun, but it just isn't.
Right. I mean, like, it's a combination. Like, Tam and I talked earlier in the week about this. Like, there's a bunch of things that just need to change. Like, the time to kill is way too long. Like, combat is not super fun because of all the animation locking and all the floatiness of the combat, but also it lasts too long. So, like, yeah, you need to fix the way that the animations feel and the way that combat feels, but an initial thing that would immediately improve it is make it feel like there's more weight to the combat.
Wait, hold on a second.
What?
Monster Hunter has extreme animation locking and an incredibly long time to kill.
Yeah, but
That's a different kind of game, though. Like, you were fighting a Goliath. Like,
Well,
even the crappiest foot soldier takes forever to kill.
That's fair.
yeah, like that's the thing, is that Monster Hunter isn't having you fight swarms of enemies.
Yeah.
And if it did, I don't think it would be good.
Yeah. Aim Rando 37 should fall down after being hit once with Captain America's shield.
like honestly, if you made a Monster Hunter inspired Avengers game where you tracked down and chased a super villain through a like hostile weird environment, looking for clues and hunting them down, like I think that would be a great game.
Yeah, it would be.
You probably have to hire the Dragon's Dogma team to make that.
Probably.
Now I'm picturing a Marvel superheroes game that leverages Marvel's history of giant monsters and the sheer number of them that they have available.
Yeah, I mean, like you can take on Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah, or Goom, or not Godzilla. It's definitely not Godzilla. It was never Godzilla.
No.
What are you talking about? Got mutated.
Pre-friendship mode Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah, maybe like get access to the Red Ronin mecha.
But
somebody should make that.
Like, there's a bunch of problems. Like, and the combat is a huge part of it, but not an insignificant part is the fact that, like, there's still only 6 or 7 maps that you're ever going to be on, and everything is like a combination of those handful of maps.
Yeah.
So it's super repetitive, and it's not like it's even a Diablo style. Here's a randomized assortment of prefabs. It's the same map. Like, you can predict exactly where things are going to be because it is a bespoke hand-created map that has the elements in exactly the same places every time. And your mission changes a little bit, but like that's it. And that just becomes more and more noticeable as you get into the end game.
Maybe every game doesn't need an end game.
Well, and that game didn't need a gearing system because the gearing system makes no sense. Like, it doesn't have any cosmetic benefit to it. Like, it's just, here's 6 stat sticks. Oh, look, you got a yellow colored stat stick. That's the rarest. It doesn't actually do anything. It's like, it doesn't improve your character when you equip like new armbands. So yeah, like I'm deeply concerned about what Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be like.
My other and like maybe controversial take on Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Guardians of the Galaxy in about 2.5 hour segments.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're great in the right dosage. I'm not sure that like a 10 or 12 hour game is going to be like, I think it might wear out its welcome.
Yeah, I am very biased.
T'Challa, maybe.
I'm very biased against the volume. When I think Volume 2 Guardians of the Galaxy, I think Volume 2 of the comics, like the post-Annihilation era.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely my preferred Guardians of the Galaxy. So when I see this kind of take, like in the game, I'm kind of... because I very much prefer the direction that era of the comics had.
Yeah, I keep wishing that they would take the opportunity in some of this side stuff, like the game, to, maybe pull in some of the other characters who were Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, Moondragon and Phyla-Vell. They're
Flag.
really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that, or if they want to do something and like just and focus on Rocket Raccoon because everybody loves Rocket Raccoon. Like, maybe make like a Ratchet and Clank style game with Rocket and Groot. That would probably do really well.
Great.
I would play this.
That is amazing. I would love that.
Pretty awesome, actually. I understand why there hasn't been a good Iron Man game. Because that is a hard problem to solve and make interesting.
Yeah.
Take Anthem, but make a good game around it.
I mean, that's step one.
Well, like, Iron Man feels awful in Avengers.
Oh,
really
Iron Man
like,
feels terrible in Avengers. No,
like,
you're absolutely right.
Like, it's the worst character to play, and it should be the best character to play.
Hey, you know what game Iron Man was a whole heck of a lot of fun to play in? Marvel Heroes.
Marvel Heroes, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
That too.
I mean, I really wish that Marvel Heroes was still around. That was a great game. It would also scratch that Diablo itch now that I'm not playing Diablo for reasons. Like, Marvel Heroes had to be making money.
Marvel Heroes died because it prominently featured the X-Men at a time when Disney did not want the X-Men to be prominently featured.
Yeah. They couldn't rip all the X-Men out of the game the way they did the Fantastic Four.
Anyway, I think that's all that was really in the show.
Chia.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what to think about that game.
I mean, it looks really cute. It looks like Breath of the Wild, but you can like turn into animals and pet the crab.
Yes, the crab petting looked adorable.
I forget what I described it as, like Super Mario Odyssey meets something. But yeah, it looks so really charming.
I mean, it's a really strong showing. Like, there's a lot of good games on the horizon.
Moana meets Super Mario Odyssey is how you put it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably important because currently there aren't a whole bunch of, next gen titles.
I mean, and that's a problem on both consoles right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're real scarce for things to actually play on the hardware that requires the hardware.
I mean, I'm okay with some of these delays because I don't want a bunch of games to run into launch problems because of hardware constraints.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why some games have stated they are releasing on both consoles, because there hasn't been enough saturation in the 5 yet. Because, like, from what I had heard, God of War was not intended to be a PlayStation 4 title, but it is going to be a PlayStation 4 title. I'm also happy with, like, PlayStation 5 versions of PS4 era games coming out. Like, I wouldn't have thought it made much of a difference, but the upgraded version of Ghost of Tsushima is, like, a big leap forward. Like, in a bunch of subtle ways, it just looks better.
And one remaining thing we didn't talk about was Deathloop.
Deathloop, when I first saw Deathloop, I was like, this looks like a battle royale game. I'm not sure I'm here for it. And every time I see something new about it, I'm more hyped for this game.
Yeah, and I realize this is a PlayStation console exclusive, but I'm probably going to buy it on PC.
Like,
And Uncharted is apparently coming to PC.
Yeah, and they didn't announce it, but supposedly the first anthology thing is coming to PC as well, because they only specifically said that Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4 were coming to PC. But
Yeah, which is weird.
supposedly there's another pack coming out that's the first 3 games.
So did they tell us what Deathloop is actually about, finally?
Deathloop is, as far as I've gotten, Deathloop is what if BioShock as done by Arcane Studios.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like,
Okay.
This is an island where rich
With time loops.
Rich people come to do hedonistic things with no consequences.
You are an assassin.
Oh, you're here to kill them all? Okay.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Like, I don't know if we know what your mission was to go to this place.
Well, the trailer that they showed was like, it was the guy going on over and over again on how, why is this woman trying to kill me over and over again? What is going on? And finally he goes by like a billboard that has a picture of him, and he's the like chief of security for this like messed up place. And that's about as much story as we got from it, but all right. I'm not sure you're the good guy. At least not to start with.
I mean,
I'm super here for it. Like, all of the I don't really understand what this game is about kind of crystallized with that trailer, where I'm like, oh, it's a BioShock.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, the thing is, Dishonored was such a well fleshed out and intricate world that I want to see Arcane do BioShock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to kill Ricardo Montalban. But spoilers, you're actually his son. I'm not sure how Hervé Village is involved yet. Fantasy Island. Nobody.
I know.
Sorry.
You knew I knew. I'm the olds.
Yeah.
Didn't have a great retort. Okay. Secrets of Magic. What is this topic?
There's a new Pathfinder book.
It's real good.
It lets you play as a magus, which means you can be good at swinging a sword and casting a spell, and swinging a sword that has a spell infused into it.
Yeah, so like RPGs are generally bad at letting you be a martial spellcaster. Just usually, it's either so overpowered it breaks the game, or it's so laughably useless that you're a red mage.
Red mages are good in a lot of things. just not FF5.
This sounds like it's the Federation of Magic book from Rift. Because, like, spellcasters in Rift sucked for the most part until they realized how to make them work better with the Federation of Magic's source book. And
Pure spellcasters are pretty good, but taking a spellcasting subclass on a martial character is bad, and you should never do it.
Yeah, like that book introduced battle mages.
Yep, and that's basically what's being introduced here. Is there are two new classes, one of which is the battle mage, one of which is the summoner, both of which are blending melee, mostly melee combat, and magic in interesting ways, and like something that the game has been really terrible at up until this point.
I also want to say, go ahead.
All right. Despite the book being called Secrets of Magic, these are actually both martial classes in disguise.
Yes. Yeah, this is a book that purports to be about magic that mostly is about punching people.
It has a lot of magic stuff in it.
It's true, it does.
It does have a lot of magic stuff in it.
It has a lot of
including ways to be a monk and punch people with magic that way too.
I appreciate this book is trying to like make classes that have like slightly more interesting decision on a turn-to-turn basis. Like what turns do I want to use for setup versus what turns am I going to use to like deliver my big hit.
Yeah.
I really think the Magus is cool.
The Magus can deliver some very big hits.
It might be able to deliver one of the biggest hits.
But another thing added by this book is somewhat improved spell selection in some areas that were lacking, like, say, single target spells.
Yeah, it fills out, it does a good job of filling out a bunch of stuff that didn't exist. Like the D20 RPGs, especially of the D&D family tree, are fairly badly beholden to spells that are 20 to 30 to 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
and like were made when the concept of a good game was one where it was super simulationist, and the fact that maybe you just don't have anything useful to do here for this whole fight was considered like de rigueur. Like that's just a normal thing and you just deal with it. It's okay that your wizard is squishy and useless for the first, 5 levels, because once they get to level 5, now the rest of the party is useless. That's fine. This is fine. But they haven't held up to more modern game design sensibilities. So there's a bunch of weird gaps in like, okay, mechanically, we want to support this kind of thing. Functionally, it doesn't exist. And this book goes a long way to closing some of those gaps, which I think is good. I mean, for all of the fairly reasonable criticism that Vancian magic gets, which is, if you're not familiar with the term, is when you have spell slots and pick spells that go in those slots, and those are the spells you can cast that day, versus like a mana pool that you can cast any of your spells from. One of the things that it does is it lets your spells be more unique, more interesting, and more powerful, because it's like when you see, Elder Scrolls Online, where you may have a lot of abilities, but you can only slot so many at a particular time. And that kind of functionality actually works really, really well for both making the planning phase interesting and also allowing you to have really powerful, cool abilities without you just having a vast array of options at any given time, allowing you to have an answer to any question.
Yeah, classically part of the balance on Wizards was, okay, yeah, you have access to all of these spells, but you've got to guess ahead of time which ones are going to be useful this day. What do I really want to be able to do?
Except
fall into your doom and you didn't prepare Fly or Featherfall today? Well, That sucks.
And the problem is that the balance on those spells has never been good because the right answer is always just slot fireball.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it didn't used to be.
Haste.
Yeah.
For a while, the right answer was to slot haste.
Yeah. It's like pick the spell that is just the ultra spell and slot it. But
those are both level 3 spells, so the point still stands.
Right. But yeah, they're adding more spells that you can choose from does a good job of both allowing you to flavor your character the way you want and leaning a bit more into here's a whole bunch more power, but you really have to be thoughtful about how you choose it. And I think that's interesting. Like, I think that's the most interesting thing about playing a spellcaster in D&D like games is figuring out how to build your toolbox and then what do you want to have ready at any given time, and getting more options for that is good. But there were also some things like the Magus, which really wants to hit people with single target attack spells, or like the Eldritch Archer, which is doing something similar, where they just didn't have the spells available to do the things that you wanted to do with them.
And now they do.
Yeah, now they mostly do. They also added a new class of spells. I forget what they're called. Some kind of summon. But they're like...
Invocation, I believe.
They're what?
Invocation, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right. But they're like Final Fantasy summons. Because
I'm just mad that they only wrote 4 of them in the entire book after coming up with the concept.
It's true. The concept is really cool. They haven't printed enough of them yet, but one of them is summon kaiju.
I've said before, I don't see why you would ever cast that one, since it's the 10th level primal spell, and right next to it on the 10th level primal spell list is become a kaiju, which lasts more than 1 turn.
I mean, maybe you want plausible deniability.
If you summon a kaiju, you can still throw a fireball.
This is true.
They also increased the number of variable action spells and introduced the very interesting concept of 2-round spells.
None of those spells are worth spending 2 rounds to cast.
Correct.
Uh-oh, we're getting multi-round spells again.
Yeah, like
I remember those from the old days. You just never cast those.
Yeah, it's a cool concept, but you should never use them.
But we'll
get there maybe.
They could theoretically balance them to be useful. Yeah, and I think that's interesting.
And to some extent, like part of the reason I'm so excited about this book is because it shows that they actually listen to their player base. Because the playtest, this book was released as a playtest, and the playtest version of the Summoner was mostly fine. It had some weird jankiness to it, but it's kind of like the level of jankiness that you expect from a playtest version, a beta version of something. And the Magus was flatly unplayable.
I was going to say it was non-functional.
It was so bad it was insulting.
Worse than a fighter in every way. At the thing, like, you would have been better off being a fighter and trying to cast a cantrip than to try to actually cast the magic spells.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You might as well be playing a frontline rogue with some cantrips and no sneak attack. It wasn't good. It was like shockingly bad. And so this iteration of it is much better and much more interesting and like actually looks super fun to play.
They had a bit of fear of this class and the Summoner, quite frankly, when the Secrets of Magic playtest was coming out. Yeah. Because these two classes were strong in Pathfinder 1.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of overcorrection that you can see in Pathfinder 2 as you play it, where there were a few things that they were like, these were too strong in Pathfinder 1. We want to fix that. And they fix it in like 4 different ways. And then it's like a little bit less powerful than it probably ought to be.
And then also, this was never played in Pathfinder 1. And also traditionally just never played in D&D. So we want to make it really compelling, which is the fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we make fighters interesting?
They are the best at fighting.
it turns out that Pathfinder 2 figured out how to make fighters legitimately interesting. Not like, oh, you're a fighter plus X, but like just straight, you're a fighter, actually interesting.
I think 5e's Battlemaster Fighter is quite good and interesting.
Mm-hmm. But I also feel like the Battlemaster Fighter in 5e is a fighter plus X.
No, the Battlemaster is the one that's just good at doing things. Like they get an extra dice to, punt people or whatever.
Oh. I was confusing it with the one that gives you group buffs that they don't call a warlord, but I don't remember the name of.
I mean, I think some options for those dice are warlord-like, but mostly people don't take those.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, admittedly, 5e has also there's been a push in RPGs lately to figure out how to make your basic fighter more compelling. And mostly I think those efforts have been successful. I think in Pathfinder 2, they're much more successful.
Yes, Pathfinder 2 is a very compelling fighter.
I do miss the Book of Nine Swords.
You know what? I do too, but I also know that none of my... Like, it was so weird because fighters were so bad in general. Like, none of my GMs were like, oh, this is just insane amount of power creep for martial characters. I'm not going to include this book. But
I mean, also, it was a necessary amount of power creep for martial characters.
It was a necessary amount of power creep for characters.
Yeah. Book of Nine Swords let me have a half giant who could run on walls and do whirlwind attacks with a flaming saber. It was great.
Yeah. The problem with that was it was mostly in the form of feats that could be taken by other martial characters that were breaking the game in other ways.
Yeah.
I'm looking at me, Barbarian Cleric.
I mean, that still doesn't grant you access to maneuvers, did it?
I don't think maneuvers were fighter specific.
Oh no, maneuvers were not fighter. Maneuvers are not fighter specific, or even the Book of Nine Swords did not make fighters good. Let's be clear here.
Yeah,
it introduced some new classes that were actually good.
I mean, yeah, I suppose so.
But yes, it gives me the ability to play I finally have the ability to play the sword and magic duelist.
And they could be good. And they can even sometimes teleport around the freaking battlefield.
Also, as a bonus, I get to use my favorite spell. It's actually good. It's probably the best spell I can be using.
Disintegrate?
I love Shocking Grasp.
Oh, Shocking Grasp? Yeah. Shocking Grasp is great.
You never get to use that spell. Nobody ever uses it.
I use Shocking Grasp in your game, actually. Once.
Okay, fair.
Exactly once.
Yes, fair.
But it's not even on my list anymore because it's no longer applicable to where I stand, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it's the Magus bread and butter. Zap people with lightning sword. I'm here for it. Now I just need some good now if I can get in the next book they're making, which is all about like technology, and includes the inventor and the gunslinger. If I can get the right combination of multi-class stuff, I can finally just play a gun mage.
Yo.
You convince your GM to let you take the free archetype rules.
I mean, I don't even know that that's necessary. I only need
It might not be necessary, but it would probably help.
Well, fair.
I mean, I am not unpersuaded by just increasing the power of the characters in these games, especially if I'm running modules, because their modules are a little tuned high. There's definitely some stuff that I've been trying, edit, because boy, do they overtune some encounters.
Yeah, I've noticed that in the few that I looked at. They really seem to expect you to use one or more of the have some flat buffs optional rules, of which there are quite a few. Their most recent one, which looks very cool, it's Wizard School in Fantasy Africa, except wait, we were actually incredibly thoughtful when we did our Fantasy Africa setting.
Yay.
The entire book did a very, very good job with that setting.
Yeah, and did a very thoughtful job, because right at the start, they're like, hey, books like this have been published before, sometimes by us. they weren't necessarily great for a bunch of reasons. We're going to try to do better with this one.
Yes. I'm absolutely here for more settings that are not generic Middle Ages Europe and like actually made with people involved that understand what needs to be done there.
I would say that they had a misstep with their, hey, let's release a module where you play as cops in the summer of last year. I think that was a little timed.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Ironically, that's the one that they released that basically added layers and layers and layers of how to do like non-lethal combat, but not great timing. But this one is, hey, we're going to release a whole thing we're going to release a whole campaign that's, what if you're students at a magic school in like sub-Saharan fantasy Africa?
I could use more magic school stories because magic school stories are fun, and I want new ones that aren't
right
associated with. Yeah,
I hear I should watch Owl House as a result.
I mean, everything I've heard about Owl House has been like glowing from people whose opinions I trust. So, yeah. Too bad I never get to, use our television because my child is always playing Mario. or making me play Mario. I think this one's a little too difficult. You should play it. If you die, you should call Luigi.
Which version of Mario? Maker?
I mean, mostly Mario Maker 2, yeah.
Yeah, the story mode?
Yeah, he's been real into story mode. But yeah, he'll run around for a little bit to see if there's any gold coins that he can get anywhere, and then he'll start a job, and then he'll die once, and then he'll like run over and drop the controller on me.
Go do a level, Dad. We need to earn more coins for
Pretty
Peach's
much.
castle.
I was actually playing a little story mode under my own account, and his castle is much more built than mine now because he keeps making me play missions for him. He's also started getting real annoyed that he can't put Super Mario Brothers 2 enemies and backdrops and things into levels in build mode.
Oh.
He really likes Super Mario 2.
Does he... You can, right? Or not enemies, but you can make Super Mario 2 physics.
Oh, he loves the Super Mario Brothers 2 mushroom. That's like the first thing he puts in a level every time. But no, he wants to be able to like put like Birdo and like Fly Guys and Sniffets and things.
That's probably a show. Final thoughts?
None that can't wait, I don't think.
Marvel Crisis Protocol quietly, like this today, I guess, dropped its next set of releases, and I'm so here for them.
Something, Juggernaut, something.
Juggernaut, Colossus, Magic, Rogue, and Gambit. It's the full X-Men.
It's a good batch of characters.
I'm so here for it.
So good.
They're all the 90s X-Men look too. I love it.
Oh, nice.
Magic has her weird modern take on the Soul Sword.
I actually don't know anything about that character. It's the only character I don't know about, but
She's Colossus' sister.
So I read.
And I could get into all the complicated elements, but we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
It involves time travel and alternate dimensions and realities and
Wish magic.
Gosh, yeah. Demons.
Anyway,
The Technovirus.
hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.